Hi everyone, welcome to the class once again. I hope you're all doing good and you're the best of your health. So after studying this chapter thermodynamics, we have actually covered all the concepts based upon this chapter. We have covered heat transfer, we have covered first law of thermodynamics, we have also covered the specific heat capacities of gases at constant pressure, at constant volume. We have also covered the P and V curve for gases going through various processes, adiabatic, isothermal or any kind of process. Now in today's session, we'll be practicing question based upon JEE main pattern exercise. In this exercise, we all know that in JEE main examination, question asked are of single choice objective question in which one option will be correct and rest all options will be incorrect. We'll be practicing 5 questions in the first session and next 5 questions in the second session. Let's start our practice with the first question of the class. The first question is, water of volume 2 liter in a container is heated with a coil of 1 kilowatt at 27 degrees Celsius. The lid of the container is open and energy dissipates at a rate of 160 joule per second. In how much time temperature will rise from 27 degrees Celsius to 77 degrees Celsius? A 8 minutes 20 seconds, B 6 minutes 2 seconds, C 7 minutes and D 14 minutes. This question has been asked in one of the previous examination of JEE. Let's read the question, let's try to analyze what things have been given and what is required from the question. Which method we can actually utilize to solve this question. You see here water volume 2 liter. We all know that in our heat equation we all need the mass of water. 2 liter of water, that means we can take that its mass will be approximately 2 kg. We'll be using 2 kg for it. 2 liter in a container is heated with a coil of 1 kilowatt at 27 degrees Celsius. Now see here the coil is of 1 kilowatt. 1 kilowatt means 1000 joule of energy will be actually taken up by water. Now the lid of the container is open and energy dissipates at the rate of 160 joule per second. That is, net heat energy obtained by water in this case will be net heat energy obtained by water will be 1000 minus 160, quite simple. Net heat energy obtained by water will be 1000 is the heat energy transferred by the heater. So 1000 joule per second, that is what we can say, minus 160 joule per second, that is radiated. So this comes out to be 840 joule per second of the heat energy that is acquired by water. So 840 joule per second. So first thing we got the rate at which water acquires heat energy, that is 840 joule per second. Next you see the lid of the container is open and we have used this. In how much time temperature will rise from 27 to 77 degrees Celsius? The rise in temperature is asked. What's the time? Now see the heat energy required by the water, that will be mc delta T. So first of all, heat energy required will come out to be m specific heat capacity of water and delta T. This is what we have to use. Mass, that is not given directly, but we can use that since volume is given 2 liters. If volume is 2 liters, certainly we can use mass as 2 kg. So keep mass as 2 kg and let's say time taken is T. Let time taken is T. So the formula that we can use, let time taken be T. The formula that we shall be using, that will turn out to be 840 into T will be equal to, because 840 joule per second should be equal to mcw delta T. From here T comes out to be mcw delta T divided by 840. Clear? Not too tough to understand this. Mass you can use as 2 kg. Cw, specific heat capacity of water, we know that it's 4200 joule per kg per degree Celsius. That is what we know. So 4200 joule per kg per degree Celsius, 2 kg is the water, multiplied by difference in temperature, that is 77 minus 27 divided by 840. This turns out to be 2 into 4, 2, 0, 0, we can cancel out this 1, 0 and 1, 0. Rest you see 42 into 2 times it will go, and 1, 0 you are having here. So you will be having 10 by 2, you will get 5. So let me use here the value as 5. Quite simple, we can use this 84 and 420 will go 5 times. And finally, you will be having, this is divided by 1, you will be having this and multiply with 50. So this comes out to be 500 second. This is what we can obtain. Now we have did the first part of the question. We need to just answer in the required units, in what units the answer is given. So what you do, take note till here. Let me start at the other end. Take note till here. So I believe that you have understood how we have obtained this 500 second. Now clearly we all know that the answer is given in minutes and second. So 500 second, that will come out to be 500 divided by 60. This will come out to be 8 minutes and 20 seconds. This will come out to be 8 minutes and 20 seconds. So let's check the given option with this result, 8 minutes and 20 seconds. You can clearly see that option number A is 8 minutes 20 seconds. That's the right answer. Rest all options are incorrect. This is what we can understand how to solve such kind of question. Easy question, a case of thermodynamics, a case of heat transfer, a case of calorimetry. That is what we have learned from this exercise. Just let me clear the board. And I hope that you have watched each of the class of this chapter. A very important chapter. Questions can come in various competitive examination from this chapter. Question number 2. 2 kg of ice at minus 20 degrees Celsius is mixed with 5 kg of water at 20 degrees Celsius in an insulating vessel having a negligible heat capacity. So need not to worry about the calorimeter, need not to worry about the vessel, need not to worry about its heat capacity. Calculate the final mass of water remaining in the container. It is given that the specific heat of water and ice are 1 calorie per kg per degree Celsius and 0.5 kilocalorie per kg per degree Celsius for ice, while the latent heat of fusion of ice is 80 kilocalorie per kg. This is what has been given. So the final mass of water in the container we need to find out. A 7 kg, B 6 kg, C 4 kg, D 2 kg. Now the case is very simple, and before that let me write down the given specification. It says that the specific heat of water and for ice is 0.1 and 0.5 respectively. So Cw of water is 1 kilocalorie per kg per degree Celsius, and we also given with specific heat capacity of ice is 0.5 kilocalorie per kg per degree Celsius. This is both data that has been provided. Next thing you see, it says that the latent heat of fusion of ice is 80 kilocalorie per kg. 80 kilocalorie per kg. So latent heat of fusion of ice, let me write this as L of ice is equal to 80 kilocalorie per kg. That means, what does it mean 80 kilocalorie per kg? That means you need to supply 80 kilocalorie, you need to actually take out 80 kilocalorie of heat energy from water at 0 Celsius to convert it into ice at 0 Celsius, or when ice melts it will absorb 80 kilocalorie of heat energy at 0 Celsius to convert into water at 0 Celsius. Now first of all, you see that what things are provided. You are provided with ice at minus 20 degrees Celsius. First of all, that has been given. You see this, having a 22 kg of ice at minus 20 degrees Celsius. So we have been given with mass of ice is 2 kg initially, that has been given to us. Now next thing you see is mixed with 5 kg of water at 20 degrees Celsius in an insulating vessel. 5 kg of water. So next thing we have been given with water, and mass of water is given as 5 kg. The temperature is 20 degrees Celsius. Both temperature magnitude is same, but signs are opposite, minus 20 for ice and plus 20 for water. Next thing you see, calculate the final mass of water remaining in the container. So what will happen in the process if both are mixed? We are mixing both the two. If both are mixed, ice is supplied to water, so what thing will happen? Water temperature will start decreasing, ice temperature will start increasing. That is what we can actually think of. Now, what will be the final temperature of the system? We are not aware about what is final temperature of the system. So, let us say, because since either ice is converting into water, okay, that is what we can say. So, first of all, if ice, let us say the temperature attained is 0 degree Celsius. So, what we can comment after this? So, the final temperature is 0 degree Celsius. So, heat gained by ice to reach from -20 to 0 degree Celsius, heat gained by ice to reach from -20 to 0 degree Celsius, heat gained by ice to reach 0 degree Celsius from -20 degree Celsius. Let us check it how much heat is gained. So, for this process the heat acquired will be delta Q1 is equal to mass of ice multiplied with specific heat capacity of ice multiplied with change in temperature. Mass of ice is 2. C of ice, specific capacity of ice, if you see, that is given as 0.5 kilocalorie per kg per degree Celsius. 0.5 kilocalorie, so 10 to the power 3 per kg per degree Celsius, not a problem. Delta T will come out to be 20. I am using directly 20, 0 minus minus 20, you will get 20. So, on solving this, you see 20 into 0.5, that will give you 10, 20 to 0.5 will give you 10, and then 10 into 2, 20, 20 to 10 to the power 3, that is the first thing you will be obtaining, 20 to 10 to the power 3 calorie. This is the heat energy taken by ice to reach to 0 degree Celsius. What I will do for systematically conversion, I will also mention here each step that has taken place. So, we have ice, its temperature has been raised to ice at 0 degree Celsius. So, during this process the heat energy that we have actually supplied to it, that was 20 to 10 to the power 3 calorie. Next thing, how much heat energy water would actually release in lowering its temperature from 20 degrees Celsius to 0 degrees Celsius. Heat energy released by water, which is at 20 degrees Celsius to reach at 0 degrees Celsius, released by water. Heat energy released by water to reach from 20 to 0, because it is going to release heat energy to reach 0 degrees Celsius from 20 degrees Celsius. For this, you see what you need to do, heat energy released by water, that will be again delta Q2, that is mass of water multiplied with C of water multiplied with change in temperature. In this case, you apply this, delta T is different here, delta T is different here. Mass of water is given as 5 kg, so I am using 5 multiplied with specific heat capacity of water, that is 1 kilocalorie. So, 1 into 10 to the power 3 multiplied change in temperature, again that is 20. So, for this it will come out to be 2500 10 to the power 5, or 10 into 10 to the power 4 we can write, since we are writing in 10 to the power 3. So, we can write 100 into 10 to the power 3, that will be more better, 100 into 10 to the power 3 calorie. This much is the amount of heat energy actually released by water to reach at 0 Celsius, 100 into 10 to the power 3. So, what I am going to do, I am going to make one more curve to actually explain the situation. Since we have less space here, I will just make some more space. Delta Q1 was given as 20 into 10 to the power 3 calorie. Now, for water conversion, what we have obtained for water conversion, I will use a different color. Water at 20 degrees Celsius to reach at 0 degrees Celsius. Water at 20 degrees Celsius to reach at 0 degrees Celsius. For this case, the heat energy actually released by water, that came out to be delta Q2, and that came out to be 100 into 10 to power 3 calorie. Now try to understand, to reach 0 degree Celsius, ice needs 20 to 10 to power 3 calorie, and water has released 100 into 10 to power 3 calorie. That is what we can see up till here. Now further, what will happen? Either ice gets converted into water, water gets converted into ice. Let's see that. Before that, we have actually completed the part of the board. You do take note till here. Let me start at the other end. Take note till here. Now you try to understand the situation. Heat released is more. The heat released by water is 100 kilocalorie. The heat absorbed by ice is only 20 kilocalorie. That means more of heat energy is still left. That is what that will do. That will actually go to the ice at 0 degree Celsius and will start converting that ice into water. The balance of heat energy, if you see, that is actually 80 kilocalorie that is still left, because 20 kilocalorie will be used to actually convert this ice at -20 to 0 degree Celsius. So 80 kilocalorie will be still left in balance, that will start melting the ice. So what I am going to do, I am going to just rub this. I believe that you are getting from my statement, from 80 kilocalorie, 20 kilocalorie will be utilized. From 80 kilocalorie released, 20 kilocalorie of heat energy is 20 kilocalorie of heat energy is taken up by ice, from, it was 100, sorry, I wrote 80, I was regularly saying 80, it was 100 kilocalorie energy released, 20 kilocalorie heat energy is taken up by ice. Finally, 80 kilocalorie is left over, that will be used in further melting. So therefore, 80 kilocalorie will be absorbed by ice, at 0 degree Celsius to convert into water. Now you see, let's say some mass of ice is converted into water. So you will be having 80 kilocalorie, 80 into 10 power 3 is equal to mass that gets converted into latent heat of fusion of ice. This is what we can actually write. So M will come out to be 80 into 10 to power 3 divided by latent heat of fusion of ice. So 80 into 10 to power 3, and latent heat of fusion that is given as 80 kilocalorie per kg. So this comes out to be 1 kg. That means 1 kg of ice at 0 degree Celsius will melt to 1 kg of water at 0 degree Celsius. 2 kg of ice was there. 2 kg of ice were there, and you can see that 2 kg of ice were there. 1 kg has melted to water. So leftover ice will be 1 kg. Leftover ice and leftover water, 5 kg was water initially. So leftover water will be 5 plus 1 kg from ice which has melted. So it will be 6 kg. Water that will be left, that will be 6 kg, and ice that will be left, that will be 1 kg. I am also writing this point, ice left, that will be 2 minus 1, 1 kg. In the question it has asked what is the amount of water in the final system. So amount of water, now the system will be in equilibrium, 1 kg of ice, 6 kg of water, and temperature 0 degree Celsius, that will be in equilibrium because both water and ice can remain at 0 degree Celsius. So finally you have to require what is the final mass of water. So that will be 5 plus 1, 6 kg, that's the right answer. Rest all options will be incorrect. 7, 4, 2 will be incorrect. So final temperature is 0 degree Celsius, ice left is 1 kg, water left is 6 kg. Pretty good question. While we are solving, it seems to be very easy, but once you solve, you will see that it requires understanding, it requires each step. And now I believe that gradually you are going to understand what temperature you have to take, the equilibrium temperature. Take that first to reach 0 degree Celsius, how much energy is required, how much energy is released. Then you see where is the balance of energy and where it will be utilized. In that case, if you proceed, in this way, if you proceed, you will get to the right result. Third question, 1 mole of diatomic ideal gas. diatomic ideal gas, I believe that you must be knowing about the values of Cp and Cv, undergoes a cyclic process ABC as shown in figure. The process BC is adiabatic. You can see this process BC is adiabatic. The temperatures at A, B and C are 400, at A it's 400, at B it's 800, at C it's 600 Kelvin respectively. Choose the correct statement. The change in internal energy in whole cyclic process is 250 R. The change in internal energy in the process CA is 700 R, in process C to A is 700 R. The change in internal energy in the process A to B is minus 350 R. The change in internal energy in the process B to C is minus 500 R. So, 4 options we are required as per the given option to calculate the change in internal energy for each of the process. Now, what is the value of change in internal energy? That I have told you in our regular class, it's NCV delta T. This is what we have learnt, NCV delta T. Now, here it's given that 1 mole. So, N is given as 1. So, what you do? Put N as 1. CV is a monatomic gas. CV will be used as 5/2, monatomic. Monatomic gas, you can use CV as 5/2, and finally you have to put up the values of the given thing. You see here, temperature difference you can easily evaluate from B to A, from A to B, from B to C, you can easily see that, you can easily put up the values. So what do you do? Actually just we have to put the values, take note till here, let me start at the other end, take note till here. Now one more thing, its CV is 5R/2, that is what we have missed, 5R/2 you have to mention. Now easily you can use this formula to calculate the different change in internal energy for different process. I will draw the curve separately. Here the PV curve is given for the process in this way. It's given as A to C, it goes in a straight line fashion. This was A, this is C, and A to B it moves in this way. Let me just show you the curve. This is A to B, and finally B to C, it's given in this way. B to C, that's adiabatic, 800 Kelvin, and here you have 600 Kelvin. Need not to worry about the kind of process that has been given. See what we need to apply here. This is 400 Kelvin, this is how the process has taken place. Read the first option, the change in internal energy in whole cyclic process 250 R. For that we need to evaluate the individual change in internal energy. Before that, the change in internal energy in process C to A is 700 R. C to A we need to check. So for C to A, if you see the process going through a constant pressure, we can use directly NCV delta T, because delta T can be easily evaluated. For process C to A, if I use delta U for C to A, NCV delta T, N is 1, CV is 5/2 R, and delta T will be how much? C to A, 400 minus 600. 400 minus 600, this will give you minus 200/2, so you will get minus 100, so minus 500 R. So I believe that second option clearly you can actually eliminate. The change in internal energy process C A is 700 R, no, it's minus 500 R, that is what we can see. This is negative, 400 minus 600, so clearly negative will be the answer. Next, delta U, for the option number 3 you see, option number C, the change in internal energy in the process AB is minus 350 R. In the process AB, delta U AB, if you see, A to B, you are going from 400 to 800. The process is taking place at constant volume. The process taking place at constant volume. Here it was constant pressure here at this end. Now again, but do not worry, use NCV delta T. So again use NCV delta T. So 1 CV 5/2 R, delta T will come out to 800 minus 400. Clearly this will be 400/2, 200 into 5000 R will be the result for this, for A to B, 1000 R. Now for B to C or C to B, what's given in the fourth option, the change in internal energy in the process BC is minus 500 R. Let's see, change in the internal energy for BC is given as 1 into 5/2 R multiplied with delta T, that will be 600 minus 800. So this will come out to be minus 500 R. Now total change in internal energy of the entire process. Total change in internal energy of the entire process. The process is going from A to B to C, or you can take any way, it will be 0. The cyclic process will be 0. That is what we can see. And for C to A, it's our option comes minus 500 R. It's given as 700 R. That's incorrect. For A to B, it's given as minus 350 R, and we got 1000 R. That is incorrect. For C to A, sorry, for BC, it's minus 500 R, and for BC, we got minus 500 R. That is clearly visible to your minus 500 R. Let's go and correct the last option, option number D. That's the right answer. So the correct answer will be option number D for this question. You don't have to worry, that is how we can actually proceed. That is what we'll be obtaining in this question. So I believe that you have understood that only use NCV delta T. Use the value of CV as 5/2R. That will be helping you in this case. A diatomic gas, so 5/2R is the value of CV. If it's a monatomic, you can use 3/2R, but it's given diatomic gas, so you have to use 5/2R. And I have given you all the values of monatomic and diatomic value of CV, CP, and also the adiabatic constant. Let's go to the next question, question number 4. The shown PV diagram represents the thermodynamic cycle of an engine. Engine we have also learned operating with an ideal monatomic gas. This is also an ideal monatomic gas. The amount of heat extracted from the source in a single cycle is. Now the cycle is somewhat here. This is the cycle that is going through. Amount of heat energy extracted. Now see what's happening. From A to B if you go, the volume is constant. The pressure is changing. Volume is constant, that means no work is done. Volume is constant. Now from B to C you see volume is increasing. Volume is increasing, that means work will be done, and work will be done at a constant pressure. Next you see for C to D, again volume is constant, no work is done. D to A, work is done on the gas, sorry, by the gas, because volume is, sorry, work is done on the gas, volume is decreasing. The shown PV diagram represents the thermodynamic cycle of an engine operating with an ideal monatomic gas. The amount of heat extracted from the source. We need to find out amount of heat extracted from the source. That means when the gas expands, that is the only time when gas is going to extract heat energy. So amount of heat extracted, this is how smartly JEE actually take care of your deeper understanding. Amount of heat energy extracted. That's why I'll advise you all that do solve previous year questions so that you can have an idea of what kind of questions do appear in examination. Amount of heat energy extracted will be only in cycle, will be only through when the gas expands. So this will be the case from A to B, A to B to C. For this case you see, what is the value of heat energy that will be obtained? For A to B you see here, A to B, the pressure is changing, the volume remains constant. The pressure is changing, the volume remains constant. You can use the value of NCV delta T, or we can use, now see there will be no work done. We can use NCV delta T for B to C. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to write here the amount of heat energy extracted as delta Q will be equal to delta Q from A to B plus delta Q from B to C. Hope that you have understood this till step. So what you do, take note till here. Let me write the final equations relating to both these heat equations. Let me write down. So take note till here. Now clearly I can write the same thing in the other way also. I can write directly the delta Q from ABC process can be written as delta U in ABC process plus work done during ABC cycle that has taken place. So here I have ABC, let me write it down correctly. Now you see here delta U ABC, the change in internal energy, that is given as NCV delta T. So we can write NCV, so temperature of C minus temperature of A, we can write here, plus work done in ABC, we will also mention this. Next you see N is given as the number of moles. It shows here represent thermodynamic cycle of engine operating with an ideal monatomic gas. The amount of heat extracted from source in a single cycle is, we are not provided with N, so let's keep N here, N into CV, that is 3 by 2 R, and here we have TC minus TA plus work done during ABC. Now work done is what? Work done during ABC, if you see here the volume is constant, no work done. Here pressure is constant and volume is increasing from V0 to 2V0. So change in volume will be V0. So let me express here, the change in volume is equal to V0 during this B to C process, and the pressure is 2P0. So 2P0 into V0 will be work done. Let's come here. So plus 2P0 into V0. Now you see, just let me write down here 3 by 2 keeping outside, and NR TC minus NR TA plus 2P0 V0. nRT is equal to PV. So nRTC will give us the pressure at this end is 2P0, the volume is 2V0. So nRTC will give me 2P0 into 2V0, so 4P0 V0. 4P0 V0 minus nRTA. nRTA is actually equal to P0 PV, that is P0 into V0, because nRTA will be PV, so P0 into V0. Substitute here, minus P0 V0 plus twice of P0 V0. So let me rub this part. Finally, the result you will be obtaining 4P0 minus P0 V0, that will be 3P V0. 3P V0, 3 into 3 9, 9 by 2 P0 V0 plus 2 P0 V0. Plus 2 P0 V0, this will give you 13 by 2 P0 V0. This is the amount of heat actually taken up by the gas, because in only first part, when the actual gas expands, the heat energy is actually taken from the source. That is what is required. You see here, the shown PV diagram represents the thermodynamic cycle of an engine operating with an ideal monatomic gas. The amount of heat extracted from the source, that is what is required. Extracted from the source till the time the heat energy is actually taken up from the source, and till the time gas is expanding. So till here you have to only check the what is the amount of heat energy that will be taken up. So that comes up to 13 by 2 P0 V0. A is P0 V0, that's incorrect. B 13 by 2 P0 V0, that's correct. Rest all options will be incorrect for this. Very good question. I believe that it will be of great help to you all to solve such questions. Let's be very quick in doing the next one. Let's go ahead with the next question of the class. Question number 5. An ideal gas expands isothermally from a volume V1 to V2 and then compressed to original volume V1 adiabatically. So first step is isothermal, the second step is adiabatic. I believe that you must be knowing about the slope in both the curves. I will just tell you how to find out. Initial pressure is P1 and final pressure is P3. The total work done is W. Then, now see here, first of all, try to do it by making a PV curve. Let's say you have pressure here, let's say you have volume here. Now it says that initially what is happening, an ideal gas expands isothermally from a volume V1 to V2, expands isothermally. So I am going to take this curve somewhat like this, from volume, and this pressure is P1, from volume V1 to V2, so it's going through V1 to V2. Next you see what is happening, compressed to original volume V1 adiabatically. The slope of adiabatic curve is actually more. As I have told you in the case of heat engine also, the slope of adiabatic curve is more. If you have observed the curve, it's taken adiabatically, so the process will be just reverse, and in this way, because the volume is same, you have to take to the same level. So this is the final pressure P3, the volume is same. This process has gone through this is adiabatic. See, curve will help you a lot. If you try to go through with the equation, that will be quite cumbersome. If you just make curves, that will be of great help to you. Isothermal, adiabatic. Now you see here, this is the process. Now check the option. Since the curve of adiabatic curve, the PV curve, its slope is more, so pressure has to be more. The final pressure has to be more because when it reaches the initial volume, the final pressure is P3 that is given. That has to be more because the curve slope is actually more. Its slope is actually more, that is what we can see. So P3 is to be more, so if I compare, P3 is greater than P1. Now the gas is expanding in the first case. The work done is how much? The work done will be this one while expanding. Next you see, while compressing, work will be done on the gas if the volume is reducing. So an extra area will be covered. This is the extra area. Work is done on the gas. So net work done by the gas will be negative. So work done will be 0. Compare, try to understand each of the point. So P3 greater than P1, that's okay, that's correct, but work done greater than 0, no. You see here the total work done is W, that is negative because gas is actually compressed, and it's compressed, and we can see that that's work done is actually more while it gets compressed. The work done by the gas is less, so net work done will be negative. P3 less than P1, again that's incorrect, so work done is less than 0, but this is here it's incorrect. P3 greater than P1, that's correct, work done less than 0, yes, this is the correct statement, option number C. Option number D, P3 goes to P1, no, that's not a possibility, work is equal to 0, no. Ideal case is not even ideal case, this case when it goes to the same process, returns to the same process, then only it's possible. This is not the case, only case possible is option number C. So here we have discussed the 5 good questions, and this question have been asked in your previous examination. I hope that this would be of great help to you all in actually completing the chapter. With some more good questions, I will come to you in the next class. I will also advise you all to practice questions on your own. Do start solving more and more questions from standard book. That is what you can practice, and also practice previous year JEE questions for previous year competitive examiner questions. That will be of great help to you all. Wish you all the very best for your preparation, and I'll meet you in the next class with more good questions. Till the time, thank you everyone.